G'day guys, welcome. I think this is the fourth time I've tried to do this video because I've got 6 or 7 minutes in on every occasion and then I've had a coughing fit. I haven't got the flu or a cold or anything, but yeah, I don't know, something sort of happened at the 6 minute mark, which has caused me just to have a bit of an episode. So I've actually gone and got a glass of water. So if you see me having a sip of water, it means that I'm just about to explode into a coughing fit. So fourth time lucky here to preview our not quite traditional fixture against North Melbourne for Good Friday, but I've got a feeling now this one might be around for a period of time. I think really big drawing football club like Carlton up against North Melbourne on Good Friday. It's always going to be a North Melbourne home game. Really close proximity to each other. Wouldn't call us traditional rivals, but there's this, there is this big brother versus little brother sort of aspect about this. And North Melbourne, I think, a lot of the times would play with a bit of a chip on their shoulder against us. So I think it's a great sort of building rivalry, and it was a good game last year. They certainly took it up to us and challenged us. I think they led it quarter time and half time, and I think we sort of blew them open in the third quarter, which we needed to do because then it became a bit of an arm wrestle in the last. But we got the 4 points, but definitely looking back at last year, we were asking some serious questions. Even though we were winning, we had a draw and then a couple of wins. We were asking some questions about the way we were playing and the manner in which we were going about it. So there is a bit of the same feeling at the moment, although that opening game of the season for us was I still think about that as just being out of this world. But the Lions have got their challenges at the moment. And we weren't convincing against Richmond, although, the Tigers weren't that bad with a lesser like team against Port Adelaide last week. They had their chances in that last quarter. So although they are battling a little bit, they're not the worst team in the competition. But we weren't impressive. And then we're coming off a bit of a break. And who knows? I mean, it's just strange. We've played 2 games, we have a bye, and players are gone and had a bit of a break and trying to sort of navigate that. And not just physically, I think physically it's good to get the rest, but then just the mental side of things as well. I mean, who knows? I mean, these boys have been training pretty much flat out since November, so they probably appreciate a bit of a break in regards to the mental aspect of the game. But this, I must say, I'm nervous. I'm nervous about this, and let me try and explain what I mean by nervous. I'm not nervous by the fact that we go into this game red hot favourites. That expectation of getting the job done against weaker teams, being red hot favourites with the bookies and everyone expects you to win, that's gone. That's all that anxiety that I used to have with our team from the past, where, as soon as we got in a position, and we're going against favourites, we would drop that. I don't feel that anymore. I really don't. I actually feel like we'll perform pretty strongly tomorrow, or we should be performing strongly. Because there is a big difference between these two teams in regards to not necessarily talent. I don't want to talk about talent as much because I think North Melbourne have got a lot of talent on that list. But in regards to where these teams are at, where they're positioned in regards to their maturity, and the expectations and the strength, there's a big difference. And you would think that we just go out, and I did put the thumbnail was flexing the muscles, and I mean that symbolically, that, mature teams who have started to build real consistency in the way they play and the way they prepare. And it feels like we have got that intact now in regards to the way we prepare and the way we approach games. And we generally start okay and we build into games. If we start slowly, we're never out of it and all that type of stuff. You would think that we're streets ahead of North Melbourne in that aspect. Talent is a different story. I don't want to talk necessarily about talent because I look at North Melbourne's list and I look at that midfield and I think when you really stack it up against ours, I know they're a bit younger, but you could mount an argument that they're just as talented through the middle of the ground. So, So I am nervous more on the regards of the fact that, and I know it's a bit of a throwaway line, and we hear it every year. They did the comp so even, apart from the Eagles, But I'm talking about the top of the tree here. It feels like this season is really going to be wide open, and it could be anyone's grand final and we're here to win a grand final. Let's face it, we're not here to fuck around. We are in the position, we're in such a strong position now to be winning a grand final. And that's a little bit scary because you want to be finishing top 4 and we want to be finishing top 2. And that's what we're aiming to do, to get those home finals and to get the double chance. And I know the glamour teams of the competition, a lot of this is media driven, and I'm having a go at the Sydney Swans and GWS and what they've been able to do in the opening games of the season. But no one can tell me that they're streets ahead in front of us. They might be playing fractionally better football than us at the moment. But I'm pretty confident that if we can get our act together across the course of the season, that we're going to be right in the mix against those two football teams. So they don't necessarily worry me, although they're very good. And the fact that Brisbane and Collingwood are really battling and have their challenges, it's going to be important to finish top 4, top 2, isn't it, when you think about that? And gee, isn't that a fascinating game tonight, Brisbane v Collingwood? I actually can't wait to watch that. I really can't wait to watch it. And I still really rate those two clubs, and they can come really quickly. So we've just got to, I don't necessarily like to use the word just get the job done. But yeah, we just got to come away with the 4 points. And I would like to think the flexing of the muscles is more around, and it's not a given, and I'm not saying we should be winning this game by 10 goals plus, but you would think that we are too powerful and too strong and too immature and too good, because we've been together for a longer time and we've got, we've had that luxury, and we've been afforded that luxury. And there should be no time in this game really where you would think that, we're in a lot of trouble here. We're in a lot of trouble. And I think if we get to the stage in this game where we're going, shit, we're in a bit of trouble here, we haven't necessarily come with the proper mindset. And that to me would be, I think that would be disappointing. But I fully expect, if we come with the right energy and the right effort, which I think we're at that club that's at that point of view, I just think we'll just be far too strong. And whether that's a 17 or 18 point win, but a comfortable 17 or 18 point win, or we push it out to 30 plus. But if we're making this into North Melbourne, just make this into a pure dogfight, and we're scraping home in an unconvincing manner, there's no doubt it's going to lead. But we still get the 4 points. We'll take it. But I know I want a little bit more than that. I want a little bit more than that out of this game. But you've still got to go out there and execute. You've got to go out there and execute what you want to do. And let's not underestimate North Melbourne. As I mentioned, they are They are what I call a moments team. And they're probably not dissimilar to us, what we were like 3 or 4 seasons back. And that's not being condescending or patronising. That's just where they're at. And they are a moments team. So second quarter against the Giants in round 1, they had them on the back foot, kicked 6 goals straight. And then last week against Fremantle, I'm not calling Fremantle at the top of the tree at the moment, but they went into that game favourites, although it was at Marvel, and they were 32 points up, the Kangaroos, and playing really good football. And yeah, we thought there was an upset on the cards, but to Fremantle's credit, they came out after half time, got their contest work right, and went to work on not engaging North ball. I think if you engage North ball, which is around that sort of slingshot footy and been really attacking from their back half with the likes of Fisher. And he's been good, Zach Fisher. Does it hurt me to see Zach Fisher play the way he does? Not necessarily. I think we just was so, I don't know, we just was so deep in that area of the ground, and we had other options that he just wanted better opportunities and more opportunities. And he's done particularly well. They got Sheasel, they got McKercher, but they're all and they can go. So if you engage there, if you just want to bomb the ball in and you don't have particularly good ball use by foot, and they will hurt you on the rebound. That football team, they're high possession, really good users, and Fisher's actually impressed me with his ball use. It was a bit of a question mark on him at Carlton, but Sheasel uses it very well. McKercher, the youngster, uses it very well, but they're young and they're not necessarily great one-on-one sort of smallish type defenders. They really like to get on their bike. So we need to make sure that we are pressuring them, but we need to make sure that we're really smart with our ball use. But we need to set this game up from the start. And I think the biggest question mark for us has been our midfield in the opening couple of games. It's been, look, let's face it, it's been a little bit below par, but to think we're able to go up there against the Brisbane Lions and score that unlikely victory when our midfield was down a little bit. And then the same against Richmond. Well, I thought they monstered us around the ball at certain times in that game, but to come away with the 4 points suggests that we're doing a fair bit right, particularly in regards to our ball movement. And maybe this is a game of running half backs, like our transition has been a lot better, with the inclusion of Williams back there and Sard and Boyd. And, I think that's a really positive sign that we are scoring from, I suppose, turnover and transition rather than just a pure stoppage football team. But at the end of the day, when you need to get our mojo back in the middle of the ground. And that's, to me, North Melbourne, although they are just a moments team at the moment because they can't produce 4 quarters because they don't have that consistency just yet, that they've built a team, or feels like they're building a team around their midfield. And that's probably more by... It's not by design. I think it's just probably happened that way because of the fact that they've lost Ben Mackay, who I think he's going to be a fabulous addition if he can keep his body right for Essendon. I've been really impressed what he's been able to do for the Bombers over the course of the first 2 weeks. He looks a real find for them, and they lose a lot when you lose a 200 centimetre key defender who's at that point in his career where he's learnt the craft. And now they've got to rely on Aidan Core, Callan Dawson, it's a great story, Callan Dawson playing B-grade amateurs about 2 seasons back for Williamstown. Overlooked, I mentioned Jordan Boyd being overlooked down at the Western Jets. Well, Callan Dawson was the same, overlooked. But 196 centimetres, they've got some size down there, but they're battlers. That's a battling defence. So their strength down there is their running half backs and their midfield, and there's some absolute class. And if you stack it up, talent for talent, we are a lot more mature in the middle of the ground. But Powell looks to be a player, particularly with his vision by hand. We know what Simpkin brings, and they don't necessarily rely too much on him now because of the workload with Powell and also George Wardlaw is an absolute beast. Luke Davies-Uniacke's finally got that body right. It's a talented group through the middle of the ground. You know, Charlie Lazaro can do it, can pinch hit through there, so they can roll through Cam Zurhaar at times and Jaden Stevenson. So they've got some options, and I really like. Let's not be fooled here. Let's not be fooled, because I watched their 2 games really closely, and it sort of fucking annoys me, but it is what it is. Luke Jackson was really good last week for the Dockers after half time. He was exceptional. He's a specimen. He's just an athletic beast, and his second half was really good. But he wasn't the only one who turned that game for the Fremantle Dockers. But Tristan Cherry, his first 2 weeks have been fantastic. So underrated for North Melbourne in the ruck. Now, he's 25 years of age. So he's been around, but he hasn't played a lot of football. But he's good. He's actually really underrated. He is good. He took the Briggs, the Giants ruckman, to the cleaners the week before in the opening game of the season. And then last week, his first half against Jackson, before Jackson got away from him, was as good as it can get. He's a strong clearance ruckman, wins a lot of the ball, and he's combative. So let's not fucking go in there thinking that TDK is just going to have a free run at it against Tristan, because I don't think that's the case. In fact, if I'm stacking those two up against each other right here, right now, I'm taking the number 38 from North Melbourne over our boy. And I really like TDK. I really like him. I think he's got a lot of ability, but he's got a long, long way to go. And I think it's still a bit of a query on us between, Pitnet and TDK and what that all looks like. I'm not for 1 minute saying we should be playing both of them, but at times TDK is getting monstered. And I don't know if it's monstered in strength or just monstered in clearances. It's a really hard one to put a finger on. But if we think we're going to just have a picnic with TDK over Tristan Cherry, then I think we've got another thing coming. The game is always set up through that midfield. I really do like the inclusion, and we've just heard it today, of Elijah Hollins. I'm just going to have a sip of water because I'm getting to that point, guys. That's better. It's come as a bit of surprise, and I know he's served his 2-week suspension, Elijah Hollins. Only the club know. You always make bold calls, you know. I think it's a bold call, I really do, to include Elijah Hollins in this team. And I'm not doubting his potential, because I really like him, what I've seen, and what I saw last year at VFL level in that grand final against Werribee. He was terrific in the middle of the ground. He was so good on the inside, but classy on the outside. He actually really surprised me. So I think it's exactly what we need to give this midfield a bit of a spark without Sam Walsh. And I think he's still going to be Elijah Hollins. If he can play well, still going to be around when Sam Walsh comes back. But he gives us something different, and I still think there is something amiss with this midfield of ours, and I think we're searching for it. So I don't think it's an out-of-the-box selection, because I think if he wasn't suspended, he would have played round 1. But I don't know. I just feel a winning team, but they've obviously had him in the frame all along. So there's big expectations on Hollins when you make that call, or you make that call to come into the team. And I'm not expecting him to go out there and have 28 and kick 4 goals, but that would be nice. But yeah, I think when you make a call like that, a selection call like that, it's not like we have been playing like a busted arsehole and we've lost the first 2 games of the season. And we need to bring this kid into the team. It's not like he's come to our club with I know he's a high draft pick, but he hasn't come with a fantastic resume. Yeah, he'd want to be having an impact tomorrow. against the Kangaroos. But I like what he brings, and I like looking at this team, what he could potentially bring, not just in our front half, but particularly in the middle of the ground as well. I'm not saying he's going to be a 65 to 70% midfielder, but yeah, maybe a 50-50 split would be great. So looking forward to watching Elijah Hollands. Obviously, Wiedering comes in. I think Lewis Young is the one that makes way. I think North Melbourne's front half with Dersma, Stevenson, Cam Zurhaar, they're all hybrids, which makes Kemp's spot at the moment is safe. And I think offensively, I know he's really a little bit rusty still and still learning the craft of being a defender, and it's something he really needs to tighten up on. And I don't think until he starts to show that on a consistent basis, there will always be that question mark on Brody Kemp. But he does give you that X factor in the air and at ground level, and that speed and that running, and he can play on those types of players. So he's safe. I think Hollands probably replaces either Kennedy or Cunningham. This is the way I see it. Probably Kennedy now. I didn't think Hollands was going to come in. And I'd like to see Motlop come straight back in. But it wouldn't surprise me to see him play a week in the VFL. And if he does come back in, Fantasia might be the one to go out. Just looking through North Melbourne's team, I've mentioned their midfield. I mentioned their forwards. Larky's been a little bit down on form at the moment, but Dangerous has a really good record against us. I really like Paul Curtis. I really do. I think he's such a dangerous player, and I think he's not necessarily the type of player that's going to explode and have huge games, but he's good for 2 goals, potentially 3. He can get out the back. He's got good speed, and he's pretty good overhead for his size, and he's really classy. Stevenson always causes headaches. When he played at Collingwood, he caused us headaches. Zurhaar always causes us headaches. And what we do know with Cam Zurhaar is I'm no longer fearful of that sort of bullying tactics of North Melbourne, which they had over us a few seasons back. But we know that Alistair Clarkson has a history with our football club. Dating back to when he was a player, and he'll have this fucking group fired up. He'll have them breathing fire. It's just in his nature. It's in his combative nature to do that. So don't expect them to come out meekly at all. I think the likes of Cam Zurhaar and Jai Simpkin and your Luke McDonald's will be very, very aggressive. But I think we're the type of team now that can handle that. I really do. I don't think we will be intimidated at all. But I don't know, guys, that's a wrap. I want to see us get our mojo back in the middle of the ground, particularly around clearances and stoppages. I think Cherry's he's been very, very underwhelming. And I think that stems back to the latter part of last year, if we sort of take that back with Adam Chera. So I want him to start to get back into a bit of form. I just want us to do the basics really well. And what I mean by the basics, not necessarily the clean ball handling, but just our ball use and our decision making. And really show what Fremantle did in the second half against North Melbourne last week, is that we're on a different level to them in regards to where we're at. Talent aside, it's more where we're at. We're a more mature team. We should be a smarter team. And I want to see that tomorrow. I want to see that if this game gets into a bit of a shootout, and North Melbourne want to play that North ball, that we have the maturity to know when to go fast and to know when we want to go slow and be patient and deny them with the ball between the arcs, and not play into their hands in regards to their running half backs, and be patient, not engage them, and continue on and get that better balance between us being a really good contest team, but also being able to score. being able to score on transition, which we've been able to do in the first 2 games of the season, which has been probably the most pleasing thing. But I'm fully expecting us to go to Marvel Stadium tomorrow, guys, and flex our muscles against an up-and-coming North Melbourne team that have a lot of weaknesses across the board, which we should be able to expose. Tell me what you think. Speak soon.